Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into your immune system. Specifically, we're going to look at how the food you put on your plate every single day literally shapes your body's ability to defend itself. Food isn't just fuel for energy. It is the raw material for your body's most complex defense mechanisms. We're going to break down the exact nutrients you need, where to actually find them, and how your daily habits can build an incredibly resilient system.
But before we get into the weeds, I want you to sit with this for a second. Consider this. Roughly 70% of your entire immune system is located directly in your gut. Let that sink in. It's not just floating around in some abstract location in your bloodstream or locked away in your lymph nodes. It is right there in your digestive tract, actively responding to every single bite you take every single day. Honestly, that one fact alone completely flips the script on how we should think about food and immunity.
Okay. Let's dive into this, because there is this super persistent myth out there. People think immunity is like a simple on and off switch. You feel a tickle in your throat, so you eat a single orange or take a ginger shot, and boom, switch flipped. But that's just not how it works. A quick seasonal health kick or some intense 2-week detox, it's not going to suddenly fix your immune system. And that's because your immunity is actually this deeply layered, constantly active network.
To really get how it works, we have to look at the massive metabolic demand of the system. Your network operates on two constant layers. You've got the rapid response innate system, your immediate physical barriers and fast cells, and then you have the highly targeted adaptive system powered by those slower T cells. Because both are always running, it's basically like a massive 24/7 construction site. Cells are constantly being produced, deployed, and replaced. And think about it, a construction site that big requires an immense, never-ending supply of raw materials.
Which brings us to a really powerful point. Your immune cells do not take days off, which means your body needs a steady supply of the right building blocks all the time. That word, continuous, is absolutely key here. Because they are constantly being turned over and replaced, your immune system demands consistent daily nutrition. You can't just feed the crew once on a Monday and expect them to build a fortress that protects you all year long, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is seeing exactly what those building blocks are. Let's walk through the heavy hitters. Vitamin C helps maintain your natural defense cells. You'll grab that from citrus, kiwi, bell peppers, and broccoli. Then there's vitamin D, which regulates those targeted T cells we mentioned. But since our vitamin D levels often tank in winter without sunlight, you might need to get it from fatty fish, eggs, or chat with your healthcare professional about it. Vitamin A, that supports your mucosa linings. B vitamins are in there helping produce healthy white blood cells. And omega-3s, which you can get from salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, they're stepping in to support normal inflammatory processes. It's this incredible, highly interconnected team.
You might have noticed we skipped one big player just then, and that's because it totally deserves its own moment. Up to 1 in 4 people do not get enough zinc. 1 in 4. Zinc tends to completely fly under the radar, but it is absolutely crucial for immune cell development and normal immune activity. If you aren't getting enough, a vital part of your defense network is just compromised. To make sure you're hitting those targets, you'll want to include things like lean meats, red meat, seafood, pumpkin seeds, beans, and lentils in your regular rotation.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next big piece, protein. Protein is the literal architecture of your immune cells. Antibodies? They're proteins. The enzymes powering your immune response? Proteins. Without enough protein from sources like lean meats, fish, eggs, legumes, dairy, or soy, your body quite literally lacks the physical raw materials it needs to fight back. Remember that construction site? Well, skipping protein is essentially trying to build a brick wall without any bricks. Good luck with that.
So the crucial point is that it's not about any of these nutrients in isolation. No single supplement or magic superfood can replicate the synergy of a varied whole food diet. Research consistently shows that your overall dietary pattern matters way more than any singular vitamin pill. When you're eating a varied diet that covers multiple food groups, you're delivering all these nutrients in a way that actually lets them work together in harmony. It's the whole shebang, not just a solo act.
Which brings us right back to the gut, where, remember, 70% of your immune system lives. Your digestive tract is home to trillions, with a T, trillions of microorganisms, known as your gut microbiota. And these microbes, they do far more than just digest your lunch. They're interacting directly with your immune cells. They maintain the gut barrier that physically stops pathogens from slipping into your bloodstream, and as they ferment dietary fiber, they actually produce short-chain fatty acids that actively stimulate your immune cells. Basically, they are your internal defense partners.
Because these little microbes are so unbelievably vital, you need what researchers call an ecosystem management strategy for your gut. Sounds fancy, but it really has 2 main pillars. First up, prebiotic fiber. You find this in a wide range of plant foods, and it essentially acts as food for your beneficial microbes. Second, probiotic-rich fermented foods. Think yogurt, kefir, kimchi. These directly introduce new beneficial bacteria into the system. Put them together and they keep your internal ecosystem thriving, diverse, and ready for action.
Let's see how this builds into the real world through patterns like the Mediterranean diet. Now, this isn't some passing fad diet. It's a proven, long-term eating pattern that's super rich in vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seafood, and olive oil. Why does it work so well? Well, studies link this specific varied pattern to greater gut microbiota diversity and incredibly healthy digestive and immune function. It naturally maximizes pretty much everything we've talked about so far. But on the flip side, we've got to face a pretty startling reality about how we eat today. It's estimated that more than 40% of modern diets consist of ultra-processed foods, and in some populations, that number reaches closer to 60%. That is a massive wake-up call. When more than half of what we consume is heavily processed, we are fundamentally starving our immune system of those raw, whole food materials it so desperately needs to function.
And the consequences of that are loud and clear. Ultra-processed diets and excess refined sugars are strongly associated with chronic, low-grade inflammation. Excess sugar can actively dial down your normal immune cell function, while diets high in inflammatory fats just crank up general inflammation over time. It's a total double whammy. These foods strip your body of the essential raw materials it needs, while simultaneously hindering the very cells that are trying to keep you healthy.
But hey, don't worry, none of this is about being absolutely perfect. Seriously, it's about small, consistent improvements. So let's look at a few actionable, daily habits that build long-term immunity. Number 1, eat a colorful variety of plants. Different colors literally mean different beneficial plant compounds. 2, try to include whole grains at most meals. 3, mix up your protein sources across the week. 4, add in some fatty fish regularly for those omega-3s. And 5, stay well hydrated. Your immune cells quite literally need fluids to circulate and do their jobs effectively.
Oh, and I want to share a really quick, surprising tip with you. If you want a simple immune boost, Brazil nuts are incredible. They're this highly concentrated source of selenium, which is a mineral heavily involved in normal immune processes. But, and this is a big but, more is definitely not better here. Just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day is entirely enough. Our selenium requirements are actually quite small, and it is super easy to overshoot it. So moderation is definitely key with these guys.
Before we wrap this up, it's vital to zoom out for a second. We have to remember that nutrition is just one pillar of this complex ecosystem. Beyond the plate, your immunity is deeply influenced by getting adequate sleep, which is when your body actually carries out its restorative processes. It's supported by moderate physical activity. It relies heavily on stress management because, let's be real, long-term stress can completely ruin both your sleep and your eating patterns. And finally, we have to adjust our nutrition as we age because our nutritional requirements shift over time, even as our appetites might actually go down.
So, the through line in all this research is beautifully simple. There is no magic single food that supercharges your immunity. And there is absolutely no shortcut that replaces consistent, healthy habits. It is a lifelong, daily practice of fueling your body. Think of it less as a strict protocol and more as a sustainable way of eating for life. So, I'll leave you with this question. Knowing that your immune system is hard at work right now, forming a literal construction site inside you, how will you fuel your ecosystem today?